The next component of demand has to do with income and wealth. And so sort of the main question is that as our incomes increase, how would that affect demand for a good or service, or as our wealth increases? So in order to answer that question, I'm going to have to distinguish between two different types of goods. So the first type of good is what we call a normal good. All right. So what is a normal good? A normal good is one that demand increases when income increases. That would be considered a normal good. So you think of lots of examples of normal goods. Nice dinner at your favorite restaurant would tend to be a normal good for most people, right? So the higher my income, the more of these nice dinners at a restaurant that I want to consume. So imagine, how many times now do you go out to eat per month at a really nice restaurant? Probably relatively few. Once you graduate and you have a higher income, the number of times you eat out at these nicer restaurants is going to go up. So that's an increase in demand, same price, higher quantity demanded, and it's gone positively with income. That makes it a normal good. So, sporting events and other things fall into cars, etc., are all examples. I could go on and on. Obviously, there's a long list of normal goods, but that's one where demand increases when incomes go up. So if income is going up, let's say you work for a company, right? So you work for a local sports team, and you're told that in the area, incomes are expected to go up. What do we think is going to happen to demand for our local sports team's tickets? Demand should increase because income's going up, increases demand for normal goods. Local sporting team should be a normal good. Higher incomes, higher demand. Income is going up, demand is going to increase. It's going to shift to the right. Now, if it's not a normal good, what does that make it? So the other option, if it's not positively related with income, is what we call an inferior good. So an inferior good is one that demand decreases when income increases. And, poor inferior goods here get such a tough rap. The name already labels them as not as good as normal goods, right? So what are inferior goods? So my favorite example would be something like frozen pizza. So now you might disagree with me. You're saying, okay, well, I really like frozen pizza, and I can't see myself ever not eating 4 frozen pizzas a week, right, for my dinners. So as a college student with relatively low income, demand for frozen pizza is relatively high, right? As you graduate, your income goes up. You're going to switch to eating better, nicer pizzas rather than frozen pizzas, right? So rather than put the Jack's pizza in the oven, I'm going to call Domino's and order the Domino's pizza, right? So as your income goes up, demand for frozen pizza goes down. It would shift to the left, right? Because I want to buy fewer of them, the higher my income. So, this is very important, right? So depending on the good that I'm selling, I need to keep track of how are incomes in my area changing. So if incomes are expected to go down, or I'm expected to have a higher fraction of lower income households in the area, that's going to increase demand for inferior goods, decrease demand for normal goods, and vice versa. So we joke about the frozen pizzas, but I did have a former student come up to me who works at a new job and said, the stuff about demand and supply and normal goods and inferior goods really helps me a lot in my job. So something very simple, you would be surprised at the interesting applications. All right, so that is income and wealth. The next video will cover prices of related goods.